Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today we are playing some Reanimator. Yes, Entomb got banned, but I have this list that comes from Roodslay, who is one of the premier Turbo Reanimator players in the world, and I want to try it out because I've been convinced that the Turbo Reanimator deck will still exist in a world without Entomb, and that's the world we're living in, so let's see how that works for us. So we are trying to cheat in Atraxa, Archon of Cruelty, Griselbrand, but we also have the Worldgorger Dragon combo based in here. So the Worldgorger Dragon combo is a little bit complicated in terms of how it actually wins, but generally speaking what happens is we put this into play with an Animate Dead or Dance of the Dead, and then Worldgorger Dragon comes into play and removes all of our permanents, which includes the Animate Dead. So the Worldgorger Dragon goes to the graveyard, which then brings the Animate Dead back, which then brings the Worldgorger Dragon back. And then you have this infinite loop of bringing your Worldgorger Dragon back whilst also all your other permanents keep blinking in and out. So what that allows us to do is generate infinite mana. If we have an Underground Mortuary, we get infinite scries, which can then allow us to keep doing this loop until the Archon of Cruelty goes into the graveyard, and then we can get it back with the Animate Dead, drawing whatever card we want that we put on top of our library, which will be like another Animate Dead type thing. And we have the mana because we keep flickering our lands. So then what we do is we Animate Dead back the Worldgorger Dragon, which blinks out the Archon of Cruelty. So then we just loop the Archon of Cruelty until our opponent is drained out. So it's a bit convoluted, but it does work and it's pretty cool. So we've got a lot of enablers that are also disruptions. So Cabal Therapy, we can point at ourselves or we can point at our opponent. Same with Unmask, same with Thoughtseize. That's quite a lot of stuff there. We've got ourselves the Putrid Imp here, which can just be an enabler. Also helps us against Edict effects if we come across any of those. We have an Unmarked Grave, which is kind of like a bad Entomb. But a bad Entomb is still a pretty good one. So this can put an Archon of Cruelty or a Worldgorger Dragon into our graveyard and just set things up. And we are running Dance of the Dead as well as Animate Dead. Dance of the Dead is a little bit different to Animate Dead, but it basically just means that our creature doesn't untap unless we pay 2 in the upkeep. But what it does do is tap our guy when it comes in. But this won't matter when we're doing Worldgorger stuff, and if we're putting in like a big draw engine, it should be fine. And once we untap the Atraxa once, it has Vigilance anyway, so it should be fine. And it gets +1/+1 instead of -1 -0. The sideboard is probably worth talking about here. We have a pivot plan of Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog. We can use Spoils of the Vault to go and find either of these pieces. And we've also got a handful of show and tells that we can use just to put in the big monsters if we're worried about graveyard hate. And that, lovely people, is what we're playing today. I'm not an expert at playing these Turbo Reanimator decks. I'm going to try and do Roodslay proud and give this one a go. But I think this sort of deck is going to be very viable still. So like, subscribe, and let's see if we can put some Atraxas into play and make our opponents go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have taken all that graveyard hate out of my sideboard. Alright, like and subscribe, let's get stuck in. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors, 3for1 Trading, are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. We don't have any mana, so we're going to send this one back. This is a turn 1 Atraxa or a turn 2 Protected Atraxa. That sounds pretty good to me. I think we're going to put back the Dance of the Dead. It's not really what we're about just yet. Alright, I'm going to crack this fetch down and see if our opponent's F6'd or not. Okay, they're not F6'd. So I'm going to just unmask here straight up. The problem with unmasking here is that we expose ourselves to Thoughtseize by doing that. But I guess we can take the Thoughtseize. Alright, I'm going to unmask my opponent here. There are still decks that are going to be doing some broken stuff on turn 1 that we need to respect. And this is one of those decks, as it turns out. Okay, how much mana is this? 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. So they have 3 mana here. We can't take them off of one of the payoffs. We could take them off of the 3 mana guy. Or we could... Oh no, we could just take the Balustrade Spy here. And then we reanimate the Balustrade Spy. We target them, they die. That seems to work for me. They don't have any fast mana in their hands. They won't be able to do anything. Yeah, we're just going to take this Balustrade Spy. Just reanimate the Spy. They can Pact of Negation this, but they die in their upkeep. Unless I've made some horrible miscalculation, I think we are okay here. Because they don't have any mana to put into the Jack-O-Lantern or Chancellor build. Not seen one of those for a while. Alright. Turn 1, we won with Reanimator. Cool. Our opponent probably has a bunch of stuff that we're not interested in. Like Leyline of the Void. We don't really want any part of that in our life. So I guess we pivot. So we probably take out Worldgorger. We could take out the Worldgorger and just go like the show and tell route, which means we probably get rid of like these things. We want to keep all of our hand disruption, obviously. Let me just get in. I quite like the Reanimates because we sometimes get to mess with our opponent. I think it's the Putrid Imp that goes. So we'll keep the Reanimates in. So we still have lines of taking our opponent's things. And we'll try something like this. I am expecting Leyline out of our opponent though. And this seems like the best way to deal with that. I would like more hand disruption. But I guess Unmasked Cabal Therapy and Thoughtseize will just have to be enough. But on the draw it's probably not going to be enough. But they might be expecting Leylines from us. So they're going to be in this weird situation of, are we supposed to go slower and have the disruption for it? Or are we going to pivot into Charbelcher? There's a lot of options for them. They can be certain that we have a lot of hand disruption. So that does incentivize them to go turn 1. But I obviously don't know what my opponent's list is. We saw their deck, but it's what is in the sideboard and how they want to pivot is the thing that we don't really know. This hand does not play Magic the Gathering. We will send this one back. Interesting. It is an interesting one. Is Cabal Therapy good enough here? We would have to know what the right thing to hit is, and that's going to be difficult. I think we can do better. Okay. We'll take 2 lands. We'll put back a Chain of Smog and a Reanimate here. So we can maybe draw a Spores of the Vault. This can get us green mana. We can get our Witherbloom guy going. But our opponent did keep 7, so we should be dead. The chance of us winning this one, relatively low on the draw, but on the play, things pick up a lot for us. So hopefully that game 3 can get things done. Winning the die roll here was pretty important. A Simian Spirit Guide. They did this in their upkeep. I don't know if there's any reason for that. I don't think it makes a difference. They're not drawing a card this turn. Agadeem, tapped or untapped? It's untapped. We're dead. Or we're getting Thoughtseized. Oh, we might just be straight up dead. So they have the mana to put one of their 4-drops in, but we're going to get to see how they've sideboarded. Cabal Therapy targeting us. What would you like to name? Fairy Macabre, I assume. The name Fairy Macabre? We don't have one. So they know the coast is clear if they go this turn. They've got 2 floating. I have to imagine they're going to go like Cabal Ritual into Guy. Alright, Lotus Petals, same thing. And we know they've got this Simian Spirit Guide. Undercity Informer. I just want to see how they've sideboarded. And then we can go to game number 3. Do they have Leylines? Let's have a little peek. There's no Leylines in there. Balustrade Spy, all the normal stuff. Force of Vigor. Force of Vigor. So they've brought it in for our Leylines, but they're not bothered with Leylining us. But that might change when they're on the... Okay, they've just shuffled a Progenitus into their deck. What does that tell us? I don't really know. So the Thassa's Oracle still wins here. Progenitus might be something they've boarded in so they don't get killed that way. Why have they scooped? Wait. They don't have any Narcomoebas. What happened? I have no idea what's going on here. Do they not have a Narcomoeba? They didn't have a Narcomoeba, but they knew they didn't have a Narcomoeba. Did they board out their Narcomoeba? What happened here? They've got 1 card in hand. Alright, we'll take it. Undefeated with Reanimator, I guess. Let's go to round 2. We're on the play. Not a bad place for us to be. This is a turn 1 Thoughtseize. Turn 2 Surveil Land. Turn 3... Maybe we reanimate something. That seems slower than what we can achieve with our deck. I think we're going to mulligan. Turn 1, Thoughtseize. Turn 2, Unmarked Grave. But we don't have a tap land this time. I think I'll keep this on 6. I think I'm going to bin off this Dance of the Dead. Is that correct? We don't have the Surveil land. So the Worldgorger Dragon plan just generates us infinite mana, which we can't really do very much with. I think I'm going to bin off the Dance of the Dead. So we'll lead off on the swamp so we don't get wastelanded off of our plays next turn. If we draw a big monster, we just get to go next turn as well. Let's see what our opponent's working with. Chromobox, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal. I'm going to take Lion's Eye Diamond. Our opponent is playing most likely the Epic Storm. You can tell by the combination of Lion's Eye Diamond and Fetch lands. So they have a lot of mana, they just need to hit payoffs. They've got 2 Surveil lands that they can access. We draw a big monster? We didn't draw a big monster. We drew a piece of hand disruption. I don't think we get to use that right now. I think we're just going to Unmarked Grave and go and get ourselves... It probably just has to be an Archon. Not the highest stakes of guys. I would have preferred to have an Atraxa, but this will do. So next turn we get to Thoughtseize, then Reanimate. So we need our opponent to not rip really good this turn. It is possible that we get hit by a Echo of Eons and we end up with a new hand. Hopefully our opponent won't be able to convert to a win that turn if that's what happens. They probably go and get a commercial district or an undersea sewers. Undersea sewers. Those tend to be the two lands they have that are surveil lands in their lists. Alright, just a Bloodstone Mire. That's fine. Alright, they have 2 mystery cards. Are they good enough to beat us? Oh, I don't like this. Are we just getting Thoughtseized? Alright, we're going to lose our Reanimate, but we get to Thoughtseize them back. Kind of comes out in the wash. And we're just going to have to try and find a reanimation spell. Now, our deck has quite a few of them. That's what we're trying to do here. They didn't play out any of their mana. Dance of the Dead. This makes our opponent discard 1 card. Is that good enough? So we know our opponent's got bad lands and a couple of other things there. Do we just Thoughtseize them? Or are we just going to make them lose 1 card of their choice? So why, if their last card in hand is a Beseech the Mirror, they couldn't really do anything with it. Because the Dance of the Dead kind of soaks up our mana next turn as well if we want to untap our guy anyway. Although if we Dance of the Dead and we draw a land, we might be okay and we get to do it all. Alright, I'm going to go for this Dance of the Dead. So they discard a card, we draw hopefully a land. We're not the most land-rich deck in the world. Alright, I will take this Unmask. That's kind of the same thing. We'll get rid of the Putrid Imp. Lotus Petal and the Mox. We'll take the Lotus Petal. That leaves them with a Mox. And then we pay 2 during our upkeep. And then we can start sending in with the Archon. I think we've done enough here. They can't put anything super scary on the stack right now. I guess if they surveil land into Echo Vions, that's pretty good. But they didn't do that. I think that was maybe they're out here. Now, I don't know their exact list. Maybe they aren't actually playing an Echo Vions list. But that would have been my assumption after watching Brian Cook's wonderful Storm videos. I really do highly recommend Brian Cook's channel, The Epic Storm, if you are at all interested in playing the Epic Storm. The insight you get just off the deck text alone is wonderful. Right, there's the Mox we knew about, so that's all information that we knew about gone. This might just be them getting stuff out of their hand because they're about to lose stuff. I would like to Dance of the Dead. We untap our guy. Putrid Imp. Not really one I care about right now. Send in the big clown. Ah, they had an Echo Vions in hand. Well. We're obviously never not attacking there, right? So, do I play this Putrid Imp? I think I probably do. We don't have any instant speed stuff in our deck that we can use. We can Dark Ritual, but we don't have anything to do with it. So I think we just get this card out of our hand that can actually attack and block and do things. It's not going to have Threshold because we're about to get our hand shuffled. Right, they're going to 3. There is a commercial district. Alright, let's spin that wheel. Our opponent is dead on board. And we're going to have a bunch more hand disruption. It's a case of whether or not they get to beat us here. It's certainly possible. They didn't have a lot of mana left over though. Alright, Dark Ritual is certainly getting up there mana-wise. So now they've got a Beseech line that they can do. What is Storm? Storm isn't that high though. Beseech the Mirror, Storm is 5. We're on 23, so they need quite a high Storm. Song of Creation line. Okay. So this is non-deterministic, but basically is going to win them the game. They have to get pretty unlucky here. Because every 0 drop is just 2 additional draws. And they get to play another land, so it accesses things like Dark Ritual for them. It's going to be a Burning Wish. It is a Burning Wish. They are lacking mana, though. That's the thing that's missing here. Oh, wow. They just bricked, and we managed to get the game. Whew. That was tight. So, our opponent doesn't really have meaningful graveyard hate. That's not what they're about. So I don't think we need to pivot. I am wondering if I just want to Chain of Smog them. But I don't think that's the case. Now, they might have pivoted into playing ley lines now that the Reanimate is banned, so Leyline works against Ubisoft spells. That is something we could have to contend with. I think we're just going to send it. We can always readjust for the final game. Going to use my existing knowledge, even though that knowledge is going to be a little bit hazy in this sort of interim period while people are adjusting to the format being different. I like Thoughtseizing my opponent twice, but we need to kind of get the game going. Am I okay with this? I think I have to be. We're quite likely to get echoed early anyway. Chromox. They might just be playing out material, so it can't be discarded, or they could be going this turn. We need to represent something like a Mindbreak Trap here by not passing priority entirely. We're going to have plenty of time for this game to play out. We're not going to need to save time by F6, and we may as well sell the idea that we've got a little something here. This does feel like a full send, alright. Lion's Eye Diamond. Are we about to lose our hand? What? So they could have a Burning Wish. They go and get the Echo from the sideboard. Okay. They made a mistake there and they're just winding it back. So they have a gamble here. So they cast the gamble. The Echo's in the bin, and then we're going to get a new hand. This is why keeping my opening hand wasn't necessarily the most important thing. What does this do? We discard our opponent twice. That seems to be a theme here. Lion's Eye Diamond. We're nearly up to Lethal Storm. Like a Beseech kills us at this point, but they need a little bit more mana to get that on the stack. The Epic Storm was actually one of the other decks that was running Entomb as well. So now they're back to gambles, which is not necessarily as good. Alright, so going for the Undercity Sewer. So they don't have the mana to Beseech right away. Burning Wish. This can go and get them the... Okay, they're just going to go for the Tendrils. Yeah, that makes sense. And that is going to be lethal. Okay, that played out much as I thought it would. But us on the play is very, very good for game 3. Let's just send it again. One Hand Disruption and some big monsters. We have a piece of Hand Disruption. Big monsters, but no way of reanimating them. Do I believe in the power of our top decks and one Thoughtseize? I think we can do better. This is very good. Go land, Dark Ritual, Putrid Imp, discard Griselbrand, Animate Dead. So we'll get rid of this. We'll keep the black card because we're going to be looking for things like Unmask here. I don't believe our opponent's got things like Surgical Extraction in their deck. But we don't know what new tech people are trying out. Let's Dark Ritual. Okay, they are F6'd over there. I will discard a card. I will Animate Dead my Griselbrand. I will draw some cards. Not really what we're looking for here. Let's draw some more cards. Unmask, there we go. Burning Wish, Lion's Eye Diamond. So Lion's Eye Diamond is the thing that gets him to do anything this turn, right? So we take the Lion's Eye Diamond. Do we have any more Unmasks? We do not. I'll get rid of some lands here. And Putrid Imp. We can discard stuff to our Putrid Imp in a minute anyway. Commercial District. I think our opponent is in a fair amount of trouble. Into the Floodmoor on our Griselbrand. That means they're not getting hit by the Griselbrand this turn. So we're not gaining the life. So we have perfect information right now. Would have quite liked a Dark Ritual to help us out here. We can't reanimate the Archon of Cruelty. We can Animate Dead it, but that means we don't get to Thoughtseize these kind of scary cards out of our opponent's hand. But if we reanimate the Archon of Cruelty, they get back the... They get the Echo Vions into the graveyard, which might not be where we want it to be. This selection of cards doesn't actually feel that scary for us. Do we just want to get this guy back in? I'm just seeing if there's any interesting lines we can do with a Unmarked Grave coming up for next turn. That give us the win next turn. If we get back our guy, that gives us kind of infinite mana, so that we can just cast both of these. Maybe that does work. It means we're not interacting with our opponent right now. Okay, I think we're going to attack first. We also have the Surveil land next turn as well. So we do have the win if we cast Unmarked Grave right now, which I think is good enough. Because we can just infinitely loop this Archon of Cruelty. Right, they're suspending a Gaia's Will. Right, now we need to make sure I understand the operations of the Worldgorger combo. We have perfect information. We know everything is going to work our way. Well, Dark Ritual isn't the worst here. Like this. We go and get ourselves an Underground Mortuary. Oh, we would like this card, actually. So we'll put this on top of our library. So we go 3 mana off of this. And this gives us 4 mana. So we go discard this Archon of Cruelty. Animate Dead this Archon of Cruelty. We draw the Dance of the Dead. We cast this on the Worldgorger Dragon. And then Worldgorger Dragon's going to exile all other permanents. So these leave. Worldgorger Dragon brings back stuff. So I'm going to attach this to Worldgorger Dragon. Attach this to Putrid Imp. These will come back. Alright, so I've demonstrated the infinite loop to our opponent, and they're scooping it up. I'm really glad we managed to do the Worldgorger Dragon, and I'm even more ecstatic that I didn't mess it up. That's quite exciting. It was quite easy for us because we had the Dancer Dead on top, but if we didn't have the Dancer Dead on top, we just keep cycling in and out the Worldgorger Dragon, milling over until we get to that position. And we can get all the extra mana we need, and we're just good to go. Alright, 2-0. Reanimate is still good, as it turns out. Let's go to round 3. This hand doesn't quite get where we need to go, so we're going to mulligan this one. This has some similar issues. It's all coming apart now. Let's go to 5. No lands. Alright, we go to 4. What would a good 3 look like for us? This has an enabler, but no reanimation or big monster. I think we're going to go 3. So, how do we actually plan this one out? We want a land. We want a reanimate. We want a Griselbrand. 4 cards is so many, though. So these two definitely go. This goes. And we can either have this Griselbrand in our graveyard. I think we rely on the Surveil land here is actually what we're going to do. But I will keep the Griselbrand, I think. Play a Polluted Delta and pass. Our deck was not cooperating especially well for us right there. Yavimaya. This is going to be a deck that has crop rotation for Paducah Boggin, which is a little scary. And this does tap for green due to the Yavimaya, so that could be alive this turn. We might just be super Deadsville. I'm almost tempted to concede and conceal information. A Thoughtseize. Okay, this does actually solve our problem slightly. So if we get another land, we can try and Thoughtseize and get this Griselbrand in. We are exposed to Wasteland, but that's probably a thing we have to live with. Sajiri's Step. Another Urza Saga. So they're very much on the Construct's train, which we should beat if our spells work. We drew a Dark Ritual. Here's what we have. Thoughtseize myself. Reanimate my Griselbrand. Get blown out by a crop rotation. Oh, we didn't get blown out by crop rotation. I don't think we get to draw cards here, though. Maybe that's cowardly, but I don't think that's a great proposition when they have Caracas in their deck and are about to make a guy. Right, so they just made a guy. I don't think we have to worry about Spellbomb or anything here. They're just going to be making some more guys to pressure our life total to make the Griselbrand less useful. So if we attack with it, they can crack back. So drawing cards isn't the thing we get to do. I don't believe they have a crop rotation. They could have drawn it this turn. They're deciding whether or not they're going to crop rotate in response to their Urza Saga. But Maze of Ith kind of railroads us quite badly. The Caracas also does. Construct token. Pithing Needle. So they're going to Pithing Needle our Griselbrand. We still have a 7/7 lifelink flyer. Thespian Stage. Ghost Quarter. Okay. We could have drawn some cards in response, but if they then drop a Caracas, we immediately die, and I'm not here for that. Feels like they're thinking about Ghost Coring us in the upkeep. I don't know why they would necessarily do that. Or they might just be pausing for some other reason. We drew a land. So if we attack for 7 here, we gain 7. What happens on the crackback? They make a guy, they make a guy. So these are going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 power each. And then we're going to get attacked by 4 of them. 6 times 4 is going to be more than we have right now. So I think we are just on the play a land and block with Griselbrand strategy. If they can muster another artifact from somewhere, then we'll be in trouble. Because then our Griselbrand will trade instead of just gobbling one up. And I've got another guy. They could just go and get the expedition map here and we might just be very dead. Maybe we were supposed to draw cards and hope for the best. That doesn't feel great. Because they had the expedition map they could have got if they wanted it last turn. Instead of the Pithing Needle. So there's going to be 6 6s. One of them is going to be a 7 power guy. We block this guy. We block the 7 power guy and we still take 18. We're very dead if they have the Lava Spur Boots. We've got to make them have it, but I think we are very dead. Alright, they've gone for this instead. This also works. They're just going to go Caracas and we die. I figured this matchup would be quite difficult. We did mulligan to 3, and we still made a turn 2 Griselbrand. Are we supposed to be going for Witherbloom Apprentice combo? Our opponent's pretty good at messing with our graveyard, so I think the answer to that is yes, which means we're going to get rid of this, the Dance of the Dead, the Unmarked Grave, Putrid Imp, and a bunch of Animate Deads. Do we keep these Reanimates in? What use is there having these reanimation spells versus like Putrid Imp or something? If we have the Reanimate spells in, we can Thoughtseize ourselves and put a big guy in. That's probably fine, isn't it? Right, we'll try like this. It is at this precise moment in time that I realise this deck doesn't actually have a blue source in, which is a bit of a fundamental error here. Whoopsie. We can't keep this one. We can't keep this one either. This one certainly works for us. Get rid of this. And this probably doesn't actually help us that much. This swamp, we need a green source. Let's get rid of the swamp. Box Diamond and a Veil of Summer. I'll take this Veil of Summer, I guess. Our opponent's hand is pretty weak. This Yavimaya also helps us out here, which is nice. We can cast this guy off of their Yavimaya. Alright. You need to top deck real good here or you die. It's worth getting the basics so we can't be waste-handed off of our combo. Thespin stage. Opponent's deck is not known for having oodles of removal. Guess we Dark Ritual. This gains us a little bit more information about what our opponent's doing. I think if they had removal, they would have used it anyway, but it's free for us to do this. So we may as well see what they've got. And crop rotation. I don't believe that can impact us here. A Marit. We Chain of Smog ourselves. And we infinitely combo them out with the Witherbloom Apprentice. Alright. Pretty good. Let's get rid of these shadows. That is a big miss that I didn't see that one. I just assumed the deck that I took from Roodslay's page would be where we want it to be, but we're okay. We can still do stuff here. I think... So the Unmarked Grave can actually tutor for our Witherbloom. So maybe I do want this, and then we just chuck another Animate Dead in. Being able to Archon of Cruelty and take out their Marit is kind of real as well. Stick a Worldgorger in. We can at least try and infinitely combo. Maybe we'll have a little bit more Animate Dead action in there. 3 copies so that we can Worldgorger Dragon until we get where we need to go. Thoughtseize, Grave, Dead. Sure, we take out their Graveyard Hate, we go and get our thing, and then we reanimate it. We do not have the Surveil land just yet. Like, we can go and get a Surveil land, but that messes up our curve. And Urza's Saga. So they're going to have a threat to pressure us with. Pithing Needle. What would you like to name here? Is it going to be Griselbrand? I would assume it's Griselbrand. Unless they are going for Verdant Catacombs. And then, I guess we are in trouble. Polluted Delta. Swing and a miss. They were 1 away, though. And we drew a Polluted Delta immediately. Sure. This goes and gets us a basic swamp. We'll fire in this Thoughtseize to make sure there's no crop rotation or endurance. I doubt they have endurance, but it's possible. Alright, we seeing a crop rotation here. What is better than an Urza's Saga? Maybe Marit combo? Or a Caracas? And they're really on the defensive. Blast Zone can take out things like an Animate Dead. That's a possibility. This is an interesting crop rotation to me. They're just getting another Urza's Saga. Okay, so they have a Life from the Lame in hand. Yes, there it is. I will take out this Exploration. So this Urza's Saga almost certainly has Graveyard Hate that you can get. Which makes our curve a little bit awkward. But we can just curve up to 4 mana and go. And that way we'll have our Surveil land. So I think this game is very winnable for us. They're going to probably get Graveyard Hate, I would imagine. Unless they want to reach for something else. Like more mana off of Mox Diamonds or something. I'm not really sure that's where they want to be here. Okay, I'm going to crack this in response to a potential second Pithing Needle. And go and get our Surveil land. This will enable our combo a little bit. We don't need a Bayou. This has to be Soul-Guy Lantern, I would imagine. Unless they really think we're completely off the Reanimate plan. If we draw Dark Ritual, we have a shot of winning next turn, provided this doesn't get a Soul-Guy Lantern. We do have a second Surveil land, so we could still go off. Oh, they got an Expedition map. Okay. Is this just for a Wasteland? Is that really better than getting a Soul-Guy Lantern? They're just getting a Wasteland. Sure. Now, this does make things annoying for us, I won't lie. An Unmarked Grave. Right, here goes the Unmarked Grave. We're going to put the Worldgorger Dragon in the graveyard. They can't Wasteland us off of this Animate Dead, then we go and get our Surveil lands. They might not put... They could put a Wasteland in play and float it so that we can't do the infinite Surveil. Let's see if they're interested in that or not. Saga. Grafdigger's Cage. Very rude. Very, very rude indeed. Spores of the Vault. What do you do for us? We can set ourselves up to top deck. That's probably what we have to do here. Or we could spoils for... We could hold the spoils until we find one half and then we can spoils for the other half. That means we're not playing out this Bayou. How badly is that going to go for us though? I guess we still have a little bit more time. Alright, we'll take one more draw. We've got this Polluted Delta. They can Wasteland if they want. It doesn't activate because of the Pithing Needle, but if they play Yavimaya, this will tap for mana. It's just another game object for our opponent to think about, even though it doesn't do anything. Exploration. This is obviously incredible for our opponent. They don't have another green source though, so they can't loan this turn. Wasteland. You got it, opponent. So we're going to start taking a lot of damage from these sagas, so I think we have to just Spores of the Vault and hope for the best at this point. Witherbloom Apprentice, please. Alright, it was pretty close to the top. They can't Wasteland us off of Chain of Smog. So we have a line to victory next turn. we do need to draw a 4 of in our 40 cards, basically. So we've got a slightly better than 10% chance because there's only 39 cards in our deck. Thankfully, we're not dead to this construct. We didn't lose enough life off of our Spores of the Vault to just fall apart. So that's something we can cling to at least. They dredge the loam. So none of these parts really mess with us. I don't know if they've got anything off the Ezra Saga that's going to beat us here. Like a clutch little Pyrite spell out of nowhere. Oh wait, they're just going to lethal damage us actually. Lava Spur Boots. Yeah, this is actually lethal damage and my maths was just bad. Cool. So we have to chump block if we want to live. Maybe they'll forget to attack. We need to lose a little bit less life. But now they wasteland our Bayou. That cuts out any lines for us. We don't have a way of getting rid of this cage. And we're dead on board. We're dead on board. Alright. I think if maybe we'd have actually had blue sources for our show and tell, that could have helped us out. I think what really mattered in this matchup was the fact that we mulled to 3 in game 1. So we've taken our first loss against a matchup that I think is probably pretty good for them, generally speaking, because they have Graveyard Hate main deck. Let's go to round number 4. This is a turn 1 Atraxa. We keep those. Polluted Delta. That makes our Unmasked plan a little less good. Let's see what we draw and maybe it changes things. A Putrid Imp. That does change things, doesn't it? I would like to unmask my opponent, pitching Dance of the Dead. We have to do this now in case our opponent is doing combo stuff. We need to be able to disrupt it. Even though I'd prefer to do it on the turn that we actually try and combo off. We're going to see a Brainstorm to protect here. That's certainly possible. It is a Brainstorm. They're trying to protect their big important cards. But we know there's not going to be Entomb Reanimate because that's not a thing they're allowed to do anymore. Kaito, Murktide Regent, Nethergoyf, Ponder. Not really interested in this Kaito, which can lock our guy down. Ponder is interesting because it can shuffle this Brainstorm. But they already have to put it Delta, so they can do that. I think it's just going to be the Kaito because that locks down our big boy. Get Swamp, and we'll play good old-fashioned Putrid Imp. Our opponent's got 1 mystery card on top of their deck. Is it a Force of Will? We can kind of brute force our way through it over a couple of turns. I doubt they're going to have main deck now spell bombs anymore. They might still have 1, but they're not going to have the full 3 that people were having to run when Entomb was legal. Should we draw? A Polluted Delta. Not really the one I'm interested in. Discard this Atraxa. To reanimate this Atraxa. Is Force of Will the last card that you have? Is that the mystery card? It was the mystery card. We're probably going to see the Murktide go. It is the Murktide. Okay, this has flying. We're not blocking with it, I don't believe. Just send in for 1. We can send again next turn. Our opponent's Ponder's going to have to do some work to find what they're looking for. But at least we don't have the threat of Kaito this turn locking down anything we would reanimate. And if we get an Atraxa in, I imagine we'd be able to get something else in pretty soon as well. Here comes the Ponder. They have a Polluted Delta, so they can just take 1 card if that's all they want from it. They shuffle off the Ponder. So we're getting cracked for 4. That's not a small amount. But Animate Dead doesn't hurt us, so that's fine. There's a Polluted Delta we knew about. Go and get a Surveil land. See if we can rustle up some hand disruption perchance. Animate Dead. I'll just keep these on top because we can just keep firing them in until we win the game. Play this one out so we can play around days. I'm going to crack now in case there's some sort of double days, shenanigans, and just some weird timings. I guess it doesn't really matter if they have double days, really, does it? Let's try and Animate Dead our guy. Compare around days. Do you have Force of Will blue card off of your random Ponder draw? Doesn't look like they did. So now we have Atraxa. There is 1 creature. There is multiple sorceries. There's 1 instant, 1 land. Unmarked Grave, we don't... I guess we could use Unmarked Grave. And that can give us Worldgorger combo. If we go up to 3 mana here, we can discard this and reanimate it. And then we can just draw our whole deck if our opponent has nothing. Let's start Ritual. We have a lethal combo this turn. Feels like our opponent has a daze though. We shouldn't really care about the daze. You're going to have a bad time here, opponent. So all of our permanents go bye-bye. And we've got to put a lot of stuff on the stack. Ooh, we've got some action here. Is this going to be a stifle? I think they would have stifled the Animate Dead trigger, so probably not that. They could bounce our Animate Dead. They should have done that with the trigger on the stack to bring our guy back. Bitter Triumph. This isn't going to work the way you want it to, I don't believe. Actually, no, it's going to make all of our opponents leave forever, right? Oh, that's bad. That's very bad. Okay, I didn't see the Bitter Triumph coming, and now we're dead. Yikes. We went for the win, not expecting anything. We basically just had the win with our stuff anyway. So maybe we're not supposed to play into the bit of Triumph there. I think the deck wins this game if we just do nothing there. It really felt like they had a daze. Maybe they do have a daze still. We can still win this game. It's just going to be more difficult. And we're not going to have a lot of time to do it. That is very unfortunate. We should have won this game. But you lovely people came here to watch Worldgorger Dragon kill people. I'll play a land out. We have a Surveil land that we can reach for to try and help. We kind of need this to be a reanimation spell, to be honest. We can dig for a reanimation spell. And then we can unmark and we can unmask to get there. Although we can't have actual reanimate here. I think the play where we lost there would be something where if you were playing this deck regularly, you would know that that play pattern exists and it wouldn't kill you because you would just not play the Worldgorger out there. Thoughtseize isn't the one. If we don't get there, do we? We couldn't really get there because we needed mana as well. Alright. That is sad. That is very sad. Alright, we'll board in the cards that work and maybe take out the Worldgorger. Dance of the Deads can go. I feel about Putrid Imp. They're probably going to have sacrifice effects. But Putrid Imp just isn't doing that much for us. Maybe we lose a couple of Animate Deads. Because we can still reanimate there, guys. I think if we've got the Unmarked Graves, we should have a Worldgorger Dragon in there, though. It is a thing that can win us the game. I think we should keep that in. That's very tilting what happened in that last game. I think we mulligan this one. No monster, but plenty of tools. I think we can keep this. Maybe just bin off this Unmask. Get a Swamp, and then we can Thoughtseize our opponent, and then we can just start Cabal Therapying them and stripping everything. Because these are going to be Thoughtseizes moving on. Daze, Tamiyo. We also have a Brainstorm. I'm not in love with any of these things. So we take the Tamiyo. Because if we take the Brainstorm, they still have a Tamiyo that's accruing clues. And that is very irritating for us. Our Cabal Therapy can obviously hit the Dazes. There's a Polluted Delta. We could Animate Dead their Tamiyo and start getting clues with it. Or we could reanimate the Tamiyo. I'm going to Cabal Therapy here. I imagine we see a Brainstorm. I'm still going to name Daze. If they put both the Dazes on top of their library, that's not necessarily great for them. So they have to draw through all these Dazes. Right, they're dazing our Cabal Therapy. Underground Mortuary. A Griselbrand. Sure, I'll put a Griselbrand into my graveyard. Enjoy that one, opponent. Underground Sea that we knew about. Is our Reanimate going to resolve? We can push it through a daze by just paying, and that's fine. We could Dark Ritual first. Is that necessary? I don't think it is. I'd rather keep this around in case we need to get through a wasteland later on. Just going to reanimate this Griselbrand. Force of Negation, Pitching Ponder. You got it. So we know they have a daze in hand. That's Cabal Therapy here. Right, they got Polluted Delta, Swamp, Underground Sea. We could have Dark Ritual, but they could have dazed it and wouldn't have got us anywhere. This way, if they wasteland us, we can Animate Dead next turn. Polluted Delta. So I think they've drawn another daze. Am I going to play around them having drawn another daze? We don't need to, we've just drawn a Swamp. Excellent. Animate Dead on Griselbrand, please. It's unlikely to go well for them. I would like to draw 7 cards, please. That's many, many cards, isn't it? Let's unmask them, pitching Unmarked Grave. I've been burnt by that already today. Alright, they're scooping it up. That went quite well, and they didn't see our Sideboard Duke, although they can probably intuit it from the Underground Mortuary. We can unmask ourselves. Alright, we can keep this. We can just play it a little bit slower than unmask on the turn we want to go off. Thoughtseize. Our hand is pretty difficult to interact with. They can take one of our payoffs here. Or they could take our Unmask, so we can't disrupt their hand. I think it's probably the Unmask. This is an enabler as well as disruption. I think that's the name here. There it goes. Makes sense to me. Another Witherbloom Apprentice. Okay, let's see if our Surveil lands are going to be kind to us and just give us a nice little free win. We also just keep drawing up until we discard the Griselbrand. I don't think that's a viable way of playing in this format right now. A Wasteland. That doesn't make me want to go and Surveil land. Cabal Therapy, you say? I don't know if now is my time for Cabal Therapy. I think we're just going to take another draw, play it a little bit slower. I'd ideally like to hit my opponent's hand with something first. Bowmasters, that's obviously very good against the Griselbrand plan. But Griselbrand can just be a massive guy that sits in play and gains us life and attacks for huge amounts of damage, and that is also fine. I remember when this came out in Standard, people were just like playing slow decks that would just hardcast this as their win condition. Okay, we're still stuck in the Wasteland Purgatory. An Underground Mortuary. Let's take a peek. A Cabal Therapy. Not really what we wanted here. Okay, I think I'm going to take another draw. Now that their Wasteland already has a target, we can go and get the other Surveil land. They didn't play another Bowmaster, so the clock isn't increasing. Kaito is something that we could see here. And that would be very scary for us. But they didn't have a land, so no Kaito. That just means their hand is full of action. Which is also not good for us. A Brainstorm. Alright, they have a land now. They are wastelanding us as expected. I will go and have a look for a little surveil action. Chain of Smog. Oh, yeah. I'll have that one. I think we can just slam this Witherbloom Apprentice, to be honest. Because we can reanimate it. Sure. You just made it cheaper next turn. I'd rather not see wastelands from our opponent. Not a wasteland. Good news. Still got a bunch of cards in hand. We're going to have to Cabal Therapy and have a little look at what they're up to over there. Spoils of the Vault. Not really what I'm about right now. Cabal Therapy, our opponent here. Force of Negation, pitching Tamiyo. Okay, let's reanimate this Witherbloom Apprentice. We can just keep reanimating this guy over and over and over. And this doesn't care about Kaito. If it's tapped, it's still going to have its ability. Force of Will. Okay. As long as we don't get wastelanded, which, why would I say that and speak into existence? But as long as we don't get wastelanded, we should be okay here. A swamp is not a wasteland. We can take a little bit of damage. It's the Kaito. This is not what we want to see. It doesn't lock our guy down, but it does draw them additional cards every turn. And clocks for a pretty substantial amount. Dark Ritual would be a good draw here. Would give us the ability to just win the game, provided they have nothing. They left a card on top of their library. Not in love with that for us. Right, here comes the Witherbloom. We can still draw the Dark Ritual to Animate Dead next turn as well. It's just better to get the green-black card. Alright. Alright. We need a Dark Ritual. We're going to take potentially, what, 5 damage this turn? But Dark Ritual does win us the game. Now, we should have already won this match, but we got a little bit greedy with our Worldgorger Dragon in game 1 where we didn't need to. I was like, we don't want to give our opponent extra turns because then they just have more ways of, like, maybe undoing us. But they already had a way of undoing us, and that just did not work out for us. It was not what we needed. So we can Animate Dead and block for a turn. That seems bad, but it's probably what we have to do. Now they're just going to tap this down and win the game, but they might miss it. Yeah, our opponent's Double Force hand, Double Force Daze was a little bit too much. We need them to have one less thing somewhere along the lines. Yep, they saw the very obvious line. So we lost that match because I went all in on a Worldgorger Dragon that I didn't need to. And that's the first time I've ever been blown out like that with Worldgorger Dragon. And there's a lesson there for me and you and everyone watching. All right, let's go to the final round. We're 2-2. I think we should be 3-1 though. All right, let's go to the final round. This hand doesn't quite do anything, so let's mulligan. This hand also doesn't really do anything. This hand makes a turn 1 Griselbrand. Sounds good to me. Get rid of a Dark Ritual, Underground Mortuary, I think. Please don't be playing a blue deck. That is an island, and that is a ponder. So blue deck, quite likely. We could draw into a different discard spell, and that means that we can take our Griselbrand later and just slow it down a little bit and work through what our opponent has. Do I want to Thoughtseize my opponent here? I don't think so. I think we're just going to pass a turn and then get Surveil land, try and dig a little bit deeper, see if we can find some interaction for our opponent's hand. Like, we could just forcibly check our opponent, maybe they fail and we win the game. But then that's sort of all of our marbles gone. Whereas this way we can play things a little bit slower, maybe find a route that wins through what our opponent has. We don't need this. Our opponent's going to know what's up now they've seen us Dance to the Dead in the graveyard. Cabal Therapy. Alright, so we are rewarded for what we're doing here. Let's start Ritual. You're going to Brainstorm. Let's Thoughtseize you. Fatal Push, Murderous Cut, Orcish Bowmasters. I think we take the Murderous Cut here. I don't want my creature dying. And then we Cabal Therapy ourselves. We're going to name Griselbrand. They do have an Orcish Bowmaster. We're going to draw immediately. Does put us to 2, but I think that's fine. Okay, so now we can just unmask our opponent, pitching this Putrid Imp. We can tell this Orcish Bowmaster, so we don't have to worry about that either. I'll play this land. And I can pass a turn. We are very, very far ahead. If our opponent is randomly playing Collective Brutality in their deck, then we die. But that seems very unlikely. Hedge Maze. This feels like Bug Beans, maybe? Alright, let's scooping it up. I don't know how much Graveyard Hate our opponent's going to have, so we're going to juke. Get rid of a Griselbrand, I think. We just do what we've been doing all these other games. Get rid of the Dances. Get rid of the Imps. Although this is a matchup where Shoulder's Edict is very likely to be in their deck, which does make the Imp a little bit better. So maybe I will keep the Imp over the Unmarked Grave and get rid of the Worldgorger. Let's get rid of a couple of Animate Deads here. The Putrid Imp also helps feed Cabal Therapy from time to time. Playing this league with these Show and Tells in my sideboard reminds me of the time I played a Turbo Depth league and I had the wrong Urborg in. So I had the Urborg that like gives Swamp Walk or takes away Swamp Walk or something instead of the one that makes all your land swamps. I didn't realise until I was like a couple of rounds in. And I thought, let's just go with it and see how it was. And it was quite funny and we ended up positive in that league. Maybe we'll have something similar happen today. Well, this is a little bit risky, isn't it? But we came to game. Are we going to get Thoughtseize on turn 1? That certainly makes our hand worse. Nile Spellbomb. Oh, look at the Duke coming in absolutely clutch already. Beautiful stuff. I think I'm more than happy to Thoughtseize here. Brainstorm sees more cards, but Beanstalk is like their engine. So it's kind of a tough choice. I think I'll take the Brainstorm. Brainstorm is the best way they can fix their hand. And we don't want them fixing their hand. Now, if they up the Beanstalk and draw immediately into Force of Will, then I guess you got me. Up the Beanstalk, sure. Let's see if we die this turn from our own Spoils of the Vault. Witherbloom Apprentice. Are we dead? It was the top card. Incredible. It's either the top card or you die. That's generally what happens here. I'm going to play out a Putrid Imp here. This gives us the ability to play around Edict effects on our Witherbloom Apprentice. Not that our opponent's going to have many removal spells. The removal spells they have are probably going to be Edicts and not point and click because their fatal pushes and stuff don't really work. We need a Dark Ritual to win this one. Play out an island. They can crack the Nile Spellbomb in an emergency. Let's see what we draw. Polluted Delta. I could hang out my Apprentice right now. Is that something I want to do? We can do it all next turn and not expose it to anything sorcery speed-wise. I think we're just going to Underground Mortuary here. A Griselbrand. I will put that into the graveyard, please. And that gives our opponent another thing they have to worry about, potentially. Imagine if we also had some Show and Tells in our deck. How sweet would that be right now? Are you just going to cycle this Spellbomb? Rakshas's Bargain. Now that is a phenomenal card to have here. Yikes. Another Beanstalk. That's a lot of cards. Cabal Therapy, though. Certainly an interesting one. Let's attack with the Putrid Imp. We have a couple of choices here. We could just hold off a turn, then we get to Cabal Therapy twice on the turn that we're going off. I think that ends up being better for us. It does mean our opponent gets another turn of like all the mana in the world and using all these cards. They can put a Murktide Regent into play, but we Cabal Therapy and then we flash it back by sacrificing Putrid Imp and they don't get a window to Nile Spellbomb. Brainstorm. We are exposing ourselves to Thoughtseize by doing it this way. Alright, looks like we're just seeing a Murktide Regent coming down. Which is going to be a 2 mana 6/6 that draws them 2 cards. Not too shabby. Alright, looks like we're kind of getting away with some stuff here. Not getting Thoughtseized. Let's go and get our other Surveil land. So we can find a little bit more disruption or something. Another Witherbloom. I'll take that. Let's Cabal Therapy our opponent here. We're going to name Force of Will. They could Force of Will this, and then we will flash back our Putrid Imp. Veil of Summer. Ugh. That's not very nice. That's just rude. Right, green and black, let's get an Apprentice in because we have a spare one. Is this worth a Force of Will to you? It is. Unfortunately, that Force of Will is free because it just draws more cards. My land out there, but I accidentally pressed the wrong pass priority button. It is always possible that our opponent doesn't have the thing. But we don't have a lot of time on this one. Alright, they're going to think this wasteland is better than it is. Like, it's still not bad. Alright, 6 to the dome. We'll take that. Not throwing off the wasteland, letting us untap first. A Dark Ritual, you say? You exile that Cabal Therapy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This costs 8 mana. Our opponent's got 7 cards in hand. Let's go for a Witherbloom Apprentice again. I'm expecting this to be... Oh, we're just in. Feels like we're getting slightly baited here. But I don't think it gets better for us. We'll get this extra life off of the Witherbloom Apprentice. So we do get to put our Archon of Cruelty in the graveyard, so it's not the worst place for it. Right, we're going again. This is where they will interact if they have any interaction. Now we've emptied our hand. If they don't have anything, then we're okay. Force of Negation. That is very much them having a thing. Am I blocking 6 damage, or am I just attacking for 1? I think I'm attacking for 1, and we can block next turn. Because 6 is 2 turns, not 1. I guess 1, 2, 3. They can't pump this enough to kill us next turn anyway. We don't have any more Surveil lands. Fatal Push on our little guy. We can just draw a reanimation spell and bring back Archon of Cruelty. Maybe we're supposed to block here so that we can draw Reanimate, actually. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to have done there. I'm not good at playing these Reanimator decks. Tamiyo, that's pretty good. Animate Dead off the top, please. Now, it probably won't resolve. They've got double Beanstalk. Another Witherbloom. Do we play this out now? Or do we hold it in case we draw another Smog? I think we hold it. So, this guy can't block if we have Threshold. So, we don't have Threshold. We have to discard a card to make this guy fly. It's not ideal. I suppose we don't have to block whilst it's only 6 damage, but we are dead to Orcish Bowmasters. But that gives us more chance of actually winning the game. I think we're just going to take it and die to the Bowmasters. We could draw Chain of Smog and have an attempt to win the game. Spoils of the Vault. This is a funny line. So what we have to do is we have to play this guy out. And then we have to Spoils of the Vault. So we gain 1 off the Witherbloom Apprentice, and the top card of our library has to be... No, we just cooked here, aren't we? They're casting a Force of Will by the looks of it. Yep. Okay. We go to game 3. I don't think we just want to turbo reanimate them here, but maybe we do. Alright, we'll go with it as it was. We've got both avenues that we can approach. Our opponent's not really going to remove their graveyard hate, so it's not like we can just go all in on the graveyard again. I think we need to have 2 different strategies that our opponent can draw the wrong half of their deck for. And sometimes we can just steamroller them with a bunch of hand disruption. I don't like this one. We should mulligan. Okay. So we've been off this Griselbrand. Just going to get a basic Swamp. Let's Cabal Therapy our opponent. What would they keep in this? I think they would keep a Force of Will. We hit. Good. Dress Down, Daze. There's a few other bits and pieces we're going to have to get through here. So probably go Island, Tamiyo, Hold Up Daze. Yep. Tamiyo, still a thing in Legacy. A little bit spooky. Didn't find a land. We could do some weird Spoils of the Vault nonsense here, couldn't we? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I think we're just going to take this Daze out of our opponent's hand. Would you like to set yourself back a land? They would not. Alright, let's take the Daze. We know it's in there. Okay, so the Murderous Cut is something we have to be a little bit fearful of. Just need some more mana here. Polluted Delta. So they're probably just going to be cracking clues every turn, and now they have a 1 mana Howling Mine, which is a little bit spooky. Now they do have to keep cracking the clues, but they can hold up interaction and then crack the clues. That's going to be pretty solid. An Underground Mortuary. That can do some stuff for us right now. Let's mill over a big boy. We did mill over a big boy. They have a Dress Down and a Murderous Cut. So they can use both of those things. So if we reanimate this guy, they're going to Dress Down in response. We could Dark Ritual, Spoils of the Vault for like a Thoughtseize or an Unmask. And try it that way. Alright, let's try this one out for size. I think it's Unmask here. It was the top card of our library, apparently. So probably play this Dress Down in response, but then we get to see the card they draw, and we still have an Archon of Cruelty in play. Fatal Push, Dress Down, Murderous Cut. Take the Dress Down, they Murderous Cut our guy, but they lose a bunch of things. Or we take the Murderous Cut, and then we have the Dress Down, which buys them a turn. Yeah, I think it's the cut here. We go and get back our Archon. If they draw a Daze off this Dress Down, we're fine, because we have the 1 mana floating. So we're not going to get the Enters trigger of our Archon, but it's still going to be in play. I think having it in play is better than just having 1 trigger off of it. Fatal Push is not going to kill this either. 1 turn to make it count here. If they Brainstorm, they can flip the Tamiyo and get the Murderous Cut back the following turn, but they'll lose their Tamiyo. They would have to... No, there's not really a good line for them to do that. Are they going to attack with this Tamiyo for a clue? They are. So this could be Kaito. Alright, they're just attacking and brainstorming. So they could have... They couldn't have had a Kaito. They didn't have the land because they didn't play their Bayou out first. Alright, so they're just getting the clue here. And flipping the Planeswalker. They can shrink our guy, but our guy, when it attacks, they have to sacrifice a creature or Planeswalker. So we should be able to nail this Tamiyo. If they have Orcish Bowmaster mana open, we might have to attack the Tamiyo just to make sure that it can't get back the Murderous Cut next turn. So we can play out this Bayou. If they hold up the mana for Bowmasters, we are attacking the Tamiyo. As annoying as that is in terms of our damage. Alright, I guess we just Chain of Smog our opponent and take some more cards out of their hand. The alternative mode of Mind Rot for Chain of Smog instead of you win the game is still fine. They might crack a clue here, which will give us the information. Okay, they've got rid of these two. We don't know if they have this Fatal Push in hand. I don't think they do. If they have Bowmasters, we have to attack the Tamiyo or we lose here. It does look kind of funny from our opponent's point of view if they don't have the Bowmasters. Oh, they have a Veil of Summer. But this is still going to take damage from the Archon, right? Yeah, so we still managed to get the play we wanted of killing the Tamiyo. I was playing around Bowmasters, not Veil of Summer. Turns out we were playing around both, so that's good. And we got the game, which also means we got the match. So we have a positive record with Turbo Reanimator after the bans, and we are running an 11-card sideboard. And I misplayed one of the games, which would have got us a match. So we were really close to a 4-1 in this league if I'd have played slightly better. And if we'd have had, you know, the lands to make our sideboard work, or if those shows and tells were just other cards, then we could have ended up with possibly even a 5-0. Like, this deck feels perfectly legitimate. This is obviously like a first draft since the ban has happened of Entomb, and it's probably going to be worked on and improved. But for a starting point, this is very much a deck that still exists, and everyone who said, oh, if you ban Entomb, you kill off all sorts of Reanimator, it's just not true. I think this deck is perfectly viable, and I am fully expecting to see either like Roodslay or Shallow Grave or Magic Dads, one of the classic Reanimator players. They're gonna top 8 a challenge, guaranteed, and that's just going to happen at some point because they are masters with the deck. There's less hate for it around as well, which is also going to help it out a little bit too. But yeah, this deck is solid. If you were worried about all reanimation strategies being banned with Entomb, you were wrong, and that's good. It's a nice thing to be wrong about because it means people still get to play this archetype, which is obviously a classic. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a bit of a weird one. I managed to lose all my impermanents to a Worldgorger Dragon, and we managed to also play some cards that we can't actually cast. That'll teach me for just cut and pasting the list straight from Rooslay's box field, so cheers Roodslay. But seriously though, Roodslay does some great work for the Reanimate community and Legacy in general, so big props to him. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.